Hi, my name is Dave Taylor, and today is September 3rd, 2017. And earlier today, I was up at Tudor Hall, the home of the Maryland Booths, where I gave a speech. And on my way home, I decided to do a quick detour to see a site I have not seen before. And so I'm currently in Catonsville, Maryland, which is just outside of Baltimore. And kind of behind me is just a big open space of nothing. Just a nice green area, lots of space. But if we were here 150 years ago, 160 years ago, we would be greeted behind me by St. Timothy's Hall, which was a school and military academy here in Catonsville. In 1852, John Wilkes Booth and his younger brother Joseph Booth were sent here to St. Timothy's Hall to get an education. It was a military academy, as I said, and everyone there was forced to wear gray cadets uniforms, and there was strict discipline, according to the handout for the school. So John Wilkes Booth and Joseph Booth attended here. During their time here at St. Timothy's Hall, Booth would make the acquaintance of another young man named Samuel Arnold. Sam Arnold was the son of a baker in Baltimore, and Booth, in the years to come, would reacquaint himself with Sam Arnold, and Arnold would become one of those who was involved with John Wilkes Booth's plot to abduct President Lincoln in 1864 and 1865, and he will later be put on trial for his role in assisting Booth in this plot that led to assassination. But Booth first meets Sam Arnold right behind me, where St. Timothy's Hall used to stand. The building itself suffered a fire in the 1870s, and so that is why there's nothing left. During Booth's time here at St. Timothy's Hall, there was a bit of an insurrection that occurred with the cadets. And as I tell you the story, I'm going to start walking so you can see more of the space behind me, and also because there's something else I want to show you a little bit far ahead. So, pardon the shaky camera. So as John Wilkes Booth and Joseph Booth are attending St. Timothy's Hall here, in 1853 there's a little incident in which some of the boys here actually killed some of the chickens that had been roaming around the place and were used, and as punishment the head of the school punished all of the freshman and sophomore classes, which included the Booth brothers. They had a problem with this, saying that they had nothing to do with the killing of the chickens, and they thought it was unfair that these entire classes should have to serve punishment. And so the Booth brothers, along with a couple other boys, actually ran away from St. Timothy's Hall. So they actually left, and they camped out in some woods for several days as kind of a protest in the way that they were being treated. But they only lasted about 3 days before hunger forced them to return. Probably due to this protest and insurrection, and something that did not follow the strict obedience that St. Timothy's Hall was said to have had, the next year the directors of the school decided to cut out anyone who was over the age of 15. And so that meant John Wilkes Booth's last day at St. Timothy's Hall was July of 1853, and he would not return the next year because he had become too old. We are now at the church. This is a St. Timothy's Episcopal Church. This church itself, it seems to have been built around 1855, and so it doesn't really have any connections directly to John Wilkes Booth. But inside of the church, they actually do have the baptismal fountain that was used to baptize John Wilkes Booth and his brother Joseph. So part of being at St. Timothy's Hall was to be baptized in the Episcopal faith. And so he was baptized here in 1853 in another church that was located here. This church itself dates 1855. And if we could go in, we would see the same baptismal fountain that was used to baptize John Wilkes Booth. So, as I said, Booth, it was a boarding school here at St. Timothy's Hall, so we spent a lot of time here, and being here at St. Timothy's Hall allowed him to make the acquaintance of Sam Arnold, who would prove important in his later plots against the president. So it's a nice a piece of history. I wish we could go inside, and in the future I'll see if I can come when it actually is. But it's an important part of John Wilkes Booth's story and his early life, which of course eventually leads him to assassinate President Abraham Lincoln. So this is Dave Taylor, July 3rd, 2017, signing off.